When he came to the place, looking up, Jesus said to him, Zacchaeus, come down quickly, for today in your house I must remain. And he came down quickly and welcomed him joyfully. All seeing it were complaining, saying, to a sinful man he went to lodge. Then Zacchaeus, standing up, said to the Lord, Behold, half of my possession, Lord, I will give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times as much. Then Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because he is too a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. Good morning. Welcome to a short biblical reflection on the reading from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 19, verses from 1 up to 10. I have entitled it, Jesus Enters the House of Zacchaeus. The Gospel reading for 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year C. In the introduction, I have just read the second part, starting from verse 5. Now let me read the first part. And entering, he was passing through Jericho, and behold, a man called by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was seeking to see Jesus, who he was, but on account of the crowd he could not, because he was short of stature. And running ahead, he climbed a sycamore tree to see him, because he was going to pass that way. I have translated this text a little bit more literally. For example, Luke in his Gospel is using expressions composed of two verbs. The first verb is introducing an action, and the second one is talking explicitly, like for example in verse 1, entering, he was passing. For example, verse 4, running ahead, he climbed. And verse, for example, 8, standing up, said. Or in case also of Jesus, looking up, Jesus said to him. And then also I translated literally and emphasize some verbs which are repeated. For example, the verb to see is used 3 times. That Zacchaeus was seeking to see Jesus in verse 3. Then in verse 4, he climbed a sycamore tree to see him. And then the reaction of the crowds of all seeing it, were complaining, saying. On the contrary, there is also another verb of the same semantic cup, but now applied to Jesus. But Jesus was looking up in verse 5. Then also expression in verse 3, which already I read, let me repeat it. He was seeking to see, because literally there is a verb which means to seek. Zacchaeus was seeking to see Jesus, but also in verse 10, there is a statement, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. So there is mutual seeking. Zacchaeus is seeking to see Jesus, to understand who he was, and the Son of Man also was seeking him, an encounter. And this encounter is now beautifully explaining the reaction. Of course, as the text explains, because of his short statures, he had to climb up. But even if he climbed up on the tree, the text doesn't say that then Zacchaeus spotted first Jesus, because it's Jesus who is looking up and saying to Zacchaeus. So Jesus is taking the initiative and telling him, Zacchaeus, come down quickly, for today in your house I must remain. Also, the last expression I translated more in the same order as in Greek, with the emphasis that at the beginning is today, for today, then the place in your house, and I must remain. This verb, which I translated as I must remain, could be also translated I must abide. Some translated in the sense I must stay. We will see also usage of this verb in the Gospel according to Luke. But also let me point out the important factor. The name Zacchaeus means pure innocent. Somebody may say an irony that in Lucan Gospel this person is called Zacchaeus, while at the story as it begins in his past, he was not pure and innocent, he was opposite to it. But he becomes pure and innocent when he confesses sins, and Jesus makes this declaration: today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. Because this name Zacchaeus is a Greek form of the Hebrew name, which would be in a verbal form, which could be also translated in a sense to render somebody or to declare somebody innocent. So Jesus, in fact, is rendering him innocent, is declaring him innocent because he forgives his sins. Another aspect, there is the strong correspondence: for today in your house I must remain, with the concluding expression: today salvation has come to this house. Jesus is that salvation who is entering into the house of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus went out of his house to look for Jesus, and then Jesus consequently bringing him back to his house in order that he is able now to see himself. Zacchaeus can see himself like in a mirror, in order to reach to this point of conversion. When he confesses his sins, he opens also for others, because the beneficiaries are mentioned here: poor. For half of my possession, Lord, I will give to the poor. Before he was just only close within himself, focusing how to enrich himself. Now he opens his heart for others. Yet another aspect: he was a man of money, and in this way how he confesses his sins, he also is using the same language, because conversion is not just simply a sentiment, an expression, but requires a concrete action, that which Zacchaeus is now promising and is doing. Let us yet see the usage of the verb which means to remain, to abide, to stay, how it is used in the Gospel according to Luke, as we have in our text with this crucial expression: today in your house I must remain. It is used in the story of visitation after the Magnificat, when Luke is stating, and Mary remained with her about 3 months. Then the same verb is used as referring to a possessed man, that he was not living in a house. So this is now the negative usage. Then we have two similar stories in chapter 9 and 10, sending out the 12 on a mission, that they should stay, remain in the house they enter. And then finally in chapter 24, when Jesus meets and talks with those two disciples returning to Emmaus, then at the end they tell to Jesus, stay with us, because it is almost evening and the day is now nearly over. So he went in to stay with them. So they are inviting Jesus to remain, to abide with them, and Jesus is doing it. So in peculiaris, that reference, the first one with Mary, who remained with Elizabeth, Mary pregnant already with Jesus in the womb. So bringing Jesus and staying together with Jesus in the family of Elizabeth. And then also disciples have to imitate it, because entering on a mission particular house, they have to stay there. So in other words, they also have to bring through words, actions, the presence of Jesus to those people. And then that beautiful conclusion, that because these disciples are asking Jesus to remain with them, and Jesus is remaining with them. I would like to wish you a nice day, a nice reflection on this gospel reading.